Collagen is like ground up.
Just eat collagen?
Yeah, collagen is bone. It's basically from bone. Collagen is what's in bone, in meat, but collagen is like helps your tendons and ligaments and your skin and So it's something I normally wait to break my fast a little bit later, so a little intermittent fasting. So like, from dinner the last night till the morning, and then I'll start my morning normally with collagen.
What's the general thought process behind intermittent fasting? Is it just to give your stomach a break? And
I think give the stomach a break and actually allow the stomach to take a break. We rest everything else. It's kind of funny that you go for you run a marathon and then you take some time off and you go and eat a buffet, but you don't give your stomach any time to regroup. So I think it allows, the lining and just everything to heal and grow. And especially if you have I think it's also beneficial to help that gut microbiome of trying to getting away sugar, so then it's not forming all these bacteria and just allowing it to be for a second. And if you can eliminate that all out, I think that's super helpful. And then fasting, I think too, also triggers human growth hormones. So then it's I feel it's really helpful for the body to recover and to just restore those cells and get them ready to go the next day. So it's something that I think people do longer fasting, and I just like little bits of it to just kind of give it. I don't do too much fasting because I run so much, but especially when I'm not in hard training, I like to do a little bit more fasting.
I don't want to get too Joe Rogan off the jump here, but it does make sense. I think a lot of the old school way of thinking, especially with the food pyramid and the grains and everything else that we need, the dairy and the 3 squares a day, it seems kind of counterintuitive to how our ancestors were used to just living, right? They didn't get up and make some oatmeal and grill some bacon first thing in the morning. They had to find their food.
Totally, yeah.
And so I think we have enough energy stores in our body, especially in the fat, to do all the necessary chores, even running.
Yeah. And I think it just jumpstarts the metabolism right away. That I don't think everyone needs to be fasting stuff, but it's a good, just way to jumpstart the metabolism and clean things out a little bit. It's just like a restart. And I'm not doing it every day, and I don't, think everyone should do it. It was funny. One of the my coach Coop is totally against, low carb or anything like that, and having him out on the team.
He has thoughts on this?
Yeah. Can you imagine Coop has thoughts? But one day, I'm just trying to shove all this food in my mouth, and I'm just I can't wait to be done and fast. And he's like, I normally don't recommend fasting, but I'll give you this one. After you're done, you can fast for a little bit. And then that was kind of the thought. I'm just putting so much sugar and just crap in my body that I just was really looking forward to not worrying about putting food in my body. No matter what I was doing on the PCT, I was eating. Whether I was getting a massage, they were trying to give me food. If I got home, from the night and they're just instantly, it's all recovery. I need to be eating basically every moment I feel like I can eat. So that's what I did. And,
well, it makes sense.
Yeah, right.
The person in the locomotive
totally
just has
keep
to
keep shoveling it in
because it's just burning. It's just constantly churning.
Yeah.
So without that fuel, you're just gonna come to a crashing halt.
Yeah, it was I normally carried a Snickers bar in my pocket pretty much every day, and I used their line as my mantra for it, hungry, why wait? And I thought I'd say that to myself, and then I'd look down and see my Snickers and I would eat it. And it's just in the morning, I'd start hiking and I wasn't hungry and I didn't want to eat, but all of a sudden there'd be just this one little moment where I could probably put some food in. And not that I was hungry, but it's just I couldn't wait. I needed to take that moment to eat because and anytime anything was going wrong, calories. That's what is one of the main things to fix yourself out there is you're feeling really tired, you're exhausted, you're depleted, everything is hurting and aching. food. Let's eat some food, get some calories in you, and keep marching forward. So yeah, don't wait, get that food in and keep marching was definitely, just what I had to do out there.
So we're kind of willy-nilly throwing out the PCT acronym out there, but that is the Pacific Crest Trail, all 2,600 miles of it running from the border of Mexico and Southern California all the way to the northern tip of Washington. Is it Washington or Oregon? It's
to Canada.
Oregon. Yeah, but I'm thinking about the actual state. I didn't do well in school. Geography-wise, it's Washington and then Canada.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
and,
okay. So,
yeah, you gotta get past all that first, and then beautiful Canada awaits.
And a shit ton of different ecosystems between, among the 2,600 miles. But, I just kind of want to start actually where I think Adidas put out a quick little 4-minute sizzle reel of all the highs and lows that only 2,600 miles on the PCT can bring you. But at the end, when you finally reach that glorious finish in Canada, this primordial, primitive, bear-like growl just emitted from you. And I just wanted to know, was that relief? Was that just, holy crap, I did this thing? Was it just a culmination of everything that you went through in the 51 days leading up to it? Like, where did that primitive, animalistic Timothy Olson growl come from? Because I was just like, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to punctuate this massive undertaking that you just finished.
I think it was cumulative and I don't even know if the whole PCT, I think it was from years prior that this was building up, and I wasn't I had this thought that I might growl or do I just wanted to express myself at the end of I'm very internal. So right after I, let that primal roar, I went and sat down on the ground and meditated for a minute, and I think it explains me very well.
Yeah, that is the duality of Timothy Olson, right?
I am both. I am fire and water, and I'm
Beauty and the Beast.
more beast, but I think I got there, and it was this last. It was elation of getting to this finish, the relief of being there, of whew, I didn't know if I was gonna make it there, and so it was just it was this relief and excitement, but I think it was also this purge of just letting everything that was left in me just out.
Welcome to Canada!
Empty from this experience. I wanted to be completely empty from this experience. And I feel like when I got there, there was just, it was just this deep, deep joy inside, but joy combined with life, right? Joy, life is beautiful, and there's a lot of joy and bliss, but there's a lot of challenging moments kind of wrapped and spiraled around it. And I think in that moment where it was just kind of this last part of getting to see the jewel that came out from this, to seeing you put so much work and you're not sure what's going to come, and then you get to the finish and you're not sure what you're going to feel. And as I think a lot of people, they get to the finish, they reach their peak, whatever, and it's kind of that was okay. But this one felt really special. It wasn't just getting to the end of a race, or it was transformational, where I felt after that growl different, a new person, of I did it, and I was able to really sit with that and feel that joy, feel that release, feel that excitement back. My family is back, and I could just, I could feel that excitement of my family, of course, waiting for me, but then just the excitement of, I felt super blessed that so many people around the world were following and cheering for me, and, supporting, just sending me those positive vibes. And I feel all that when I'm out there. And I think it was some of that too, of just we all reached this together. We did it. That's when I got to the end, and like I didn't do this by myself. Like we did this, and that is, of course, my family and, you know, my kids, you know, encouraging me the whole way, and my wife and our little baby that's going to join us any day now, and my coach Coop, who ran those last 30 miles with me to the finish, and just like all the people who have my back, for you, Billy, who got to run some miles with me, to Dylan, who ran some miles with me, to you know, my mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law being out there to, you know, join me for a little bit and encourage me, to all the people around the world, like, you know, sending those little encouragements on Twitter, Instagram, you know, just saying, you can do this. Like, just keep putting one foot. We believe in you. Like, those little comments and just that vibe, that emotion meant the world to me out there, because we were talking about this beforehand, but like I can feel all that, and it means the world to me to have so many people encouraging me and supporting me and wanting to see me succeed. And there's definitely moments when I'm in those really low stages where I think of all the people who have my back and are pushing me forward. Yeah. And I feel that wind behind my back pushing me to reach there. And so when I arrived to the finish, it wasn't, look at me, look at this great accomplishment, look at like what we did, like all the people that, like it's one of those things when someone reaches a spot like that, like, you know, my mind was blown, other minds were blown, and then all of a sudden you realize what's possible. And like through the
you had no choice but to compartmentalize and just focus on the task at hand.
Yeah.
Because
just a couple miles.
You could easily get overwhelmed by all 2,600 miles or however many thousands of miles, literally thousands of miles that you still had left in front of you. I wanted to go back and talk briefly about, you mentioned life journey and the purging of everything that you went through, because it wasn't just this 2,600 mile journey that you completed. It really was, in a sense, kind of beautiful, because you and I, we had a moment on the trail where we talked about the book, which I hope we can talk about a little bit, but it was so perfect that the PCT was the backdrop of this great adventure that you embarked on, because there's so much of the PCT that I think is a touch point in your life. You know, running through like Ashland area, Southern California, where you resided for a little bit, the Western States course. It was just kind of beautifully put together. And I thought it was just a really great backdrop in not only completing the 2,600 miles, but everything that you endured to get to this point, of all the hundreds of miles that you went through, all the highs and lows of your ultramarathon career. It was just so beautifully said. And then for you to break the record. I mean, honestly, I think I had it in mind. I forget if I verbalized it to you when we did share the miles. I didn't even care that you broke the record. I just thought it was a beautiful thing that you're doing, just doing something that was so incredibly difficult. That's just literally mind-blowing what you did. So I just thought it was a beautiful backdrop for just your life's work, man.
Yeah, the Pacific Crest Trail, the whole, the Pacific Coast means a lot to me. It's where a lot of big changes happen in my life, and where just some of the best moments in my life. And now to be able to share that with so many people along the PCT, and to continue to share the story and stuff like that, that the trail is incredible. It's so beautiful. It means so much to me. And to complete it, like that was the goal. Like it was nice to get the FKT, and it makes for a really great story. But like I've spent a lot of time on the PCT, and I always just wanted to see what the whole thing felt like, and to do that. And with the highs and lows throughout there's definitely moments throughout the trail that I didn't know if I'd get to the finish. And it does seem, especially in the midst of it, like an impossible task. And then you think back of all the history I have along there, and like the times we've spent in SoCal running along the PCT together, to Dom bringing me to like his favorite sections, and just like his excitement about the trail and wanting to show me things when I first came to SoCal. Like, it just built up through the years, and to be able to like celebrate all those special times by going on the trail, and to have success, like to do that. It's really nice. Like when you line up for a race and things go well, and you get to actually experience the whole thing, and you end with that exclamation point of actually finishing it too. It feels good.
Well, you talked about the uncertainty of getting to the finish line. There was some uncertainty just starting it, period, because this was actually supposed to happen in 2020. And, maybe you can talk a little bit about the challenges and the difficulties and the obstacles beyond the obvious of starting in 2020 and having to defer that. Was there any doubt that this would happen the following year, or was it after COVID shutdown? Maybe it was a permitting issue. I forget exactly what it was in 2020, but was there some doubt that you would still do this thing a year later?
Gotcha. There was no doubt that I was going to do it at some point, and it was just kind of like waiting for the right time. And the prior year, 2020, with COVID, it just didn't seem like the right time. Everyone was like stuck indoors, and there was just lots of information being put out there, and there was just lots of fear, and it wasn't the time to be running through communities and trying to go for an FKT, because it wasn't important, and for me it didn't make sense, and I wanted this to be this something to share with everyone, and to not that, because we still had to practice some just being mindful of the situation. And so I wasn't bringing in tons of people. We had a pretty small little bubble of a group that we kept there. And I was just trying to be mindful and considerate of the communities we were going through. And the year prior, there was still the PCTA board was saying that they wanted it closed. And so for me to try to go and do it that year, I felt it just wasn't appropriate. And I do believe that all things are kind of just, they work out for a reason, and I am really actually grateful for that. I had some like little injuries kind of going on. I had a little foot thing that was bothering me for over a year, and it kind of ended just a few months before starting this. And like I had probably 3 or 4 months with the foot was feeling healthy, but it still kind of creep up a little bit. And then when I got a few months before the PCT, that went completely away. And it's not like being a runner, I'm sure you feel that there's always something kind of going on, and you still have to kind of juggle that. But my body really came into the start of the PCT really healthy, and I think just like set myself up for the perfect time to start it, to do it. And it just made sense. And when everything felt like this was the time to do it, we all knew it was time to do it.
So your story somewhat mirrors Scott Jurek and Jenny Jurk's story, in that they also went through a couple of miscarriages, and a way of dealing with the pain was doing the AT together as a support network, and to shift their focus on to something that was just immense and big, and would properly
all consuming.
all consuming. Was there any, I don't know, counsel or discussion with them leading into this journey of like managing certain things, or I don't know what your relationship is like?
With
the Jureks?
We talked a little bit. It's kind of a funny thing that we kind of just kept missing each other during that time. Me and Scott were playing phone tag a handful of times, and his wife and my wife are really close, so they talked a lot, and Jenny gave lots of good information and just kind of, some guidance even for Krista, for her going and being the crew and just being out there. And, so I don't feel like I had a ton of advice going into it, but it's kind of nice knowing incredible people like that use the trail for healing and for a positive way. And so their example of going and doing that and doing it as a family. Of course, I've read his book, and it definitely spiked my interest of like, you got to do this. And it was never really a thought of doing it like self-supported or supported. I knew I wanted to do it with my family and have them be a part of that. And I'm really grateful for just how it all came together, and that I was able to, share the experience with my family out there.
We'll keep kind of digging into the why of doing something like this, but I'm just like, on the surface, looking at the stats, to break the record, something like 51 miles, I think you ended up doing, or averaging per day. Yeah. How did you wrap your head around that? and just say, I could maybe do that, even though you had this very illustrious career, running 51 days and all the logistics involved in getting from point A to B with your crew. Like, how did you wrap your head around saying that is doable?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And like the simple answer is I didn't overthink it. And of course there was times where I'm like, okay, I have 2,650 miles to go, or to go and do this. And then anytime I kind of got to that point, I wouldn't go there. Because it's so overwhelming. I mean, there was definitely moments where I kind of thought of the whole project, and it was so overwhelming that it just seemed so impossible.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, something I do a lot with those type of big, endeavors like that, athletic, a performance like that, is like I kind of just step away from all those logistics and all that. And
that's where all your years of mindfulness and practice really comes into play too, right?
Most definitely. Yeah. Where I from the moment that, from like 12 years ago when I was like looking at the PCT as a naive, just getting into ultra running, not having a clue, I looked at the PCT and thought I can do that one day. And I haven't really lost that self-confidence of like anything I put my mind, heart, and soul to, I can do. And it was something that I dreamed about a long time and played out in my mind and finishing it. And, on the last few years of running, like I would think about it all the time, of getting to the finish, of being in those hard moments, and, what am I going to do? And that's where it kept coming back to my meditation practice, and where it was the foundation for the project. And I think what saved me in a lot of times when I wanted I was just breaking down and I was hurting and everything was not going as planned. And then I was just like, perfect. It's not going as planned. That's like what I prepared for, like not to go to plan. And what can I do from here? And that's where I try to do the best. I'm so human. So of course I, don't always do it, but when I can have that reminder and remember to, like, when I'm frustrated or having just a really hard time out there, to come back to my breath. I come back to my breath. I feel my body. If I can, I'll close my eyes and I come back to my center, and I can feel the warmth and the love that I'm radiating there. And I come back there, and it's just kind of like a warm hug where I like come back here, and like, this is where I reside. This is where I sit. And, it's super helpful for me to go out there and just come back to that practice. Cause there was times where I was freezing and I'm on top of a ridge and I didn't bring enough clothes and a little scared for what's going to happen next. And you can let your mind take you all these stories and go every which way. Or for me, I like to come back to my breath a lot and come back to my center. And, it was just what I practiced for many years, and what I practiced a lot of coming to do the Pacific Crest Trail. And in the years prior of just really hard, challenging runs, I would try to come there, and it was something that it was challenging, because you get to those really low moments and the mind just wants to tell you, quit and give up, and this is awful, and why should you do this? And that's where a lot of, come back to that why am I out here? Why am I doing this? And, there's moments where I was definitely doing a lot of internal work, and it's very running and, pushing myself this far is very spiritual, but also I think, the trail is very healing for me, and kind of what you mentioned before of like, the last few years, me and my wife have went through some miscarriages, and as you mentioned too, that like Scott Jurek and his wife went through that too. It's not something that's it's not uncommon. A lot of people go through that, and it's really easy for me, especially during that time, to shut down, to just like sweep all those all those emotions, all those feelings under the rug, and maybe I'll deal with this later. And if I look back to my life, 15 years prior, I would normally turn to drugs or alcohol and just drown my sorrows until I would forget. And I remember the moment when we lost we had the first miscarriage, and it was a later term miscarriage. And it was like, less than 1% of this happening. And it was just a really, didn't see that coming in any way. And it took me very off guard. And
how many weeks was it?
We were over 17 weeks in.
Okay.
And so still, early enough, but like, there's a baby in there, and I was really connected to that baby and knew it was a boy. And that it just really crushed me when we lost that baby. It crushed my wife, my whole family, like having to take that moment to, my sons were so excited to have, another little baby brother. And so like having to, of course, comfort my wife, try to comfort myself and deal with that, but then also comforting my boys. And I was just a mess and really in a lost place. And there was definitely moments on the PCT where I came back to, that was a bad day. When we lost our kid, that was an extremely bad day. It broke me in a really deep way. And when I was out there and I was dealing with really hard shin pain or, just grumpiness and being out there and just really, I was just like, this is a hard day. This is challenging and voluntary. I chose to do this. And then I think of that's when I was going through my hardest moments, that's what I came back to, was like how many other people have lost someone that maybe they've never met, or someone that they've known for their whole life and lost them. Like loss is really hard to deal with. And so I think of other people who have dealt with that. And that's what kept me going, of like, I can get back up and I can keep pushing, because it inspired me. It inspired me when I was sitting there and I would be just crying on the trail, thinking of other people, of like going through just life. Life is not easy, and there can be some really hard moments, and, flip your whole world around. And, we all have those. And I want to show people that you can hit those really hard moments, and it doesn't mean it's the end, and you can keep going. And it doesn't mean you might need some help along the way. It's something that I've learned a lot. I'm very dependent on myself, and like, I'll just figure this out. Like being an alcoholic for years, and I'll just figure this out myself. And I did. Like I worked through my addictions and stuff, but they still kept creeping in. And like, and a few years ago is when I, like, for the first time in my life, I decided to get some help and find a really cool counselor, get some therapy, and get to talk through all these things and bring it up and share my deepest fears and find those core beliefs that are really, can bring you down. And, so I address those and work on those. And I think that was another huge part that brought me to the space I was supposed to be. Why I wasn't supposed to do this a year prior, because I just still needed to keep working on some things internally. And I'm so grateful for, the therapists I've met, the people that I've talked to, my brothers that I've got to confide with and share hard moments in life. And just getting to work through that. And that's what the whole trail was supposed to be, was this, not just forgetting about it or running away from it, but running with it and through it, and letting it actually working through those processes. So I don't know how many times out on the trail I cried about, the miscarriages and losing my children. Like, that was a really hard time in my life, and it comes up all the time. But like out on the trail, I was able to really, I felt like, especially the last days, of just really feeling, I wanted to feel that, of all it was, all the pain, all the sorrow, all the loss of the loss of the child, the loss of my mind, of just just not knowing where to turn and go, and turning towards positive things. When we lost the kids, I thought of going and drinking again, and I decided, and I thought of what's meditation? This crap. Am I just gonna breathe all the things away? And no, it's not about breathing away. It's not about getting away. It's about actually feeling them and being in them. And that's what I did out there, is I felt everything, and it hurt, and it was uncomfortable. But so healing, and so just, I think what I really needed, and to take, take those emotions, take those feelings, and bring them back to my family and be able to talk things through with them. And I think that's what we really did out there, was heal together and come to a place of contentment and peace. And
and being present, purging and dealing with it instead of pushing it away or sweeping it on the rug, like you said, through various substances. And, you know, I totally feel you on that. And, you know, like this whole journey was kind of comical at times. It wasn't without your fair share of obstacles. I think even on day one or even before the journey started, you had some issues with like border agents, didn't you?
The day before the race. Or the day before starting it.
So what happened there?
You know, it's something simple. We were at this campsite and you know, Krista just wanted a nice peaceful spot to get ready for it, and I did too. But there was like a Renee festival or whatever those things. So there was just a bunch of people having a great time, which was awesome, but it was super loud and not what Krista wanted. So we decided to look for, they call them harvest hosts or whatever online. And so we found a winery that was, you know, right close to the border, like 15 minutes from, the southern terminus, so I could start and just be a few minutes from the trail. And so we went to the winery, and you know, we were right by the wall, so we went in, took some pictures there, and just a nice relaxing place to sleep for the night. So,
or so you thought.
We thought, yeah. And so we, you know, we're camped there for the night, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm just like, I don't know, I just felt like some energy, that like I just felt something, and woke up, and then there was lights shining everywhere. I'm like, what is going on? And so I poked my head out the window, and it was like two armed people with like huge guns, and flashlights, like going all over our RV. And it must have been border patrol people. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And I almost stepped outside. Like I was almost going to be like, what the heck is going on? We're on private property. Why are you out here shining guns and lights in our faces? And I didn't. And after a few minutes, they like went around our RV for a while, and they left. And, but it really triggered me. It really, like, I felt really violated, really, like just unsafe. And, with prior, things with law enforcement of being arrested earlier in my life. I don't have a lot of good things come up when
micro PTSD.
Most definitely. And so it really triggered me, and I didn't sleep that night. And so the next day I'm like, that was 2 nights before. So it was that night. So I actually got to sleep the next night, and we, you know, it all worked out. And it was like, you know, it was patrol people patrolling and stuff. And we had an RV right next to the thing. So, I guess I can see whatever. I don't agree with it, but I can see why they were there. And, I just took it as another blessing beforehand, because it triggered me. It brought up all kinds of things, and like that's what I was out here to work through those things.
I mean, like we talked about, this is all kind of like your life journey packed into 2,600 miles in a sense, right?
Most definitely.
So it's only appropriate that you get a little flashback to the past Timmy Olson and some of the things that you had to go through. So day one, so sorry.
I think it was just really like that kind of happened continuously through the things. Things kept coming up, and that was kind of the point of going into this, is like to have those things come up and to feel them and integrate them. And and it started a couple days prior, so not even day one.
Dude,
so
chapter 1, start with that story, and then boom, flashback.
Yeah, and I mentioned to you there, like that's how I plan, we'll get to this maybe later, but how I plan to kind of write my book on it is really like share the whole PCT and that, but then also can do flashbacks to, you know, just some other bigger moments in my life, and definitely, you know, transformational times in my life of, I mean, from, you know, a couple days prior to starting this, and it's already bringing me back to when I was arrested, you know, 15 or 20 years prior to that. So it's just like, wow, it was setting me up for just just craziness from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah. This is your life, Timmy Olson, kind of all packed into 2,600 miles in 51 days.
I get all sweaty thinking and talking about it. It was just like, man, the whole experience was so wild.
Well, I'm laughing because I thought it was an original idea. And then now that you mentioned it, I was like, actually, yeah, you did bring it up on the PCT and we talked about it. And that was your idea. So it wasn't my brilliant idea, but yeah, that's a great place to start. So the first, I guess, several hundred miles anyway, is a lot of desert, a lot of heat, sun exposure, not a whole lot of shade. Tell us about that section. I'm sure you guys and the crew were trying to dial things in. I don't know if there were any missteps. I do believe at one point there was a water dropping or something that was missed. So you were without water for a while. So things like that kind of happened in the first several days, right?
Totally. Things continue to happen like that throughout the whole thing. Like it's, we worked on logistics for months. So like my team is amazing. My wife and my coach Coop, like they spent a lot of time working on logistics, trying to, get it as dialed in as possible. But it's never going to happen how you think it's going to play out. So you have to be prepared for, adversity and, things not going as planned. And, day 2, they were supposed to be able to get into, a water drop spot, and the road since then was closed and gated off and they couldn't get to me. So it turned into like 20 miles or something without water. And so it wasn't a big deal. It's just, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have extra water with me. And, I thought I was going to see them like 7 miles beforehand, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just like something I deal with training and racing all the time. You thought you had more water, or you thought you were going to have this and it didn't work out, and you need to figure out what to do. And so in that situation, I just walked for a while, and my crew was amazing. And so they adapted too. And my coach started running in from another section to come and give me some water. So, it wasn't the last time that happened. And I think it highlights a couple of things. First of all, I had to prepare and have food, extra water with me. And we had good reminders of that on day 2. And we continued to, use that. There was times where I'd have extra water in my pack and I didn't use it. And it was just good to be prepared for those type of things. And then I guess it really highlights that this was supported and that my coach, Jason Coop, was absolutely phenomenal. And I haven't got to mention enough about him that he was the reason that I got to that finish. He helped in so many ways in some of those really hard sections where crew couldn't get to. He would hike in. He would hike in night gear sometimes to me. So I would do, 45-mile day. He would hike in a couple miles, give me my night pack, and then I would do another 10 miles or something, and then I'd sleep in my bivvy and whatnot. And just, I don't know how many times he'd come out and give me water.
Well, in a sense, he kind of trained his entire career in life to this moment too.
Most definitely, yeah.
Running in and out for like 20, 40 miles is no big whoop to somebody like Jason Coop, who's done 200-mile races and crazy events himself. Yeah. So
he's preparing for a 200-mile race. So I'm sure this helps a little bit, but he was sacrificing everything for there. And I, just thank you, Jason Coop. And I don't want
to blow up his ego any more than it is, but Coop's a great guy, and he was huge out there, no doubt. Yeah, and just like me being able to finish with him, because it was a 30-mile trek to the finish, and then we had to do 30 miles back out, and I was a little nervous if anybody was going to be at the finish, so he brought like an extra bivvy with me in case we had to sleep there. And so he just carried a few extra things with me at different times throughout the thing that really helped me. And even if I didn't use it, just having that safety and reassurance, super grateful for his time out there. And I linked up with you guys through Southern California in the it's like the Angeles Crest 100-mile. To those people who are familiar with the race, it's kind of like at the start of that race, or about 9 miles in, and I already walked into a problem. We don't have to go into details with that, but I think when I picked you up, you were in great spirits, and we shared some great miles and great conversations, albeit somewhat off route because of the fires that we had through Southern California. So there were plenty of things like that where you had to deviate from the original course, but then you added all the appropriate miles to make it legitimate.
There was only two fire spots. And so, I mean, with how many fires going on, just how many fires are going on this year, I feel just super fortunate that we only had those 2 spots to deal with. And we were able to really, I think, make really good choices to make sure that we still covered all the mileages and, you know, just really, with the ethos of through hiking, of just trying to do everything possible, but respecting, you know, the trail and the fire closures and just nature. Nature is so powerful to see those fires coming through. And I mean, just even the last getting to the end, there was a fire in the town, like right before the finish, and they were closing off all the roads. So we were one day away from them closing that road. And then I would have had to do a 60-mile push out after I finished to get there. So it's just, those fires were all zooming around, and we navigated through them and finished. And it's, you know, it's sad to see, you know, this beautiful land burning. But you know, it's just part of nature. Nature's powerful, and it can burn it up at any time. And, it's powerful to see that, and just really grateful that we were able to navigate all those fires and to have the team that I had that was able to figure out the logistics and stuff. Yeah.
And speaking of the team, when I ran into you, you were dealing with some niggles with your IT, I believe, or your knee area. Yeah. So you had a couple of people rotate in doing body work on you too. Talk a little bit more about like some of the bodily stuff, the physical bodily stuff that you had going on. Yeah. As I'm sure only 51 miles a day could bring to you.
It's amazing to feel your body hurt so much, and like everything popping up. Just my IT band, like when I was running with you, my IT band was flaring up big time, and you just always had to be on top of it all the time. And for me too, I of course stopped at times on the trail to do some body work, and like, you know, there was a few miles before the finish, my calf was like really giving me problems, and I wasn't exactly sure how it was. I gonna have to crawl to the finish, and so I did some body work, and I was able to keep going. And it's that was just all the little things that came up. I had, starting off, I would say the biggest problems were like IT band, and then just everything, you know, getting into that 50 mile a day type of thing where everything was hurting, and all the blisters. It was so hot and sandy early on, so I had a lot of blisters on my feet. Like my glutes and my calf were really, the calves, of course, you're just so many miles on there that they were getting so tight. And so I would have, it wasn't the whole time, but I had like 3 or 4 people through the 50 days where they came out for a couple day sections to work on me. And so I had some body work, which was extremely helpful. This amazing girl named Maddie, who helped out kind of more in the California section. She was there first week for a couple days, and then a couple days the next week. And it was super helpful of just kind of keeping everything flowing. Like everything, of course, everything was going to hurt. So it's just like trying to like, how can we keep me aligned? So I was just even having neck problems. You think of it's all going to be legs and stuff like that, but I was using poles the whole time. So I'm hiking, using my arms, that I'm not used to. Like I mean, of course, use hiking poles when I'm doing racing and stuff like that, but I'm not using it every day. Yeah, for 16 hours straight. So just like my arms were so sore, and neck. So she was doing some work on my neck, was really helpful. Like my neck was out of place for too much of it. And so like I finally got to Ashland, Oregon, and had my chiropractor, who she was there through all my running when I lived in Oregon. Awesome. Dr. Kelly Lang, incredible. Thank you, Kelly. And she was there when I entered Oregon to do some adjustments. And like, she adjusted a rib. She's like, I can't believe you had your, first rib was out for that long. And so she kind of knocked some things back into place and was super helpful. Again, and then in Oregon, I mean, even prior to seeing Kelly, she helped a little bit, but I had this shin problem that, like could say tendonitis, but I think it was much worse than that, where I felt like I had a little bit of a tear in my shin, in my tibialis muscle. And, I could not run for like 3 or 4 days, where like I couldn't walk every step. Everything was so excruciating. And I was really scared of what that was turning into, because of course it was really painful, and other muscles I was having to work through that, but I was close to like compartment syndrome where we almost had to stop, where I wasn't sure what was going to happen to my shin. And
you can't take a 0 day.
And you can't take a 0 day. Yeah. Like the hardest days were like, I can't remember, 42, 46 miles or something like that. And I did everything. That was like 16 hours of movement, 16, 17 hours of movement throughout the day. And it was so excruciating. And that's where I came to, like I was talking about before, that was a bad day. Like I didn't know how I was going to do that. I really thought we might have to stop this. I might have to go to an emergency room and take care of this. And so a few days into Oregon, another friend of mine, really good friend of mine, Robert Sanders, who is another chiropractor doctor, and he adjusted my foot, was adjusting different things that, like, I don't know, it was kind of painful, but it like put things in the right place, and the swelling went down from my leg. Like the next day, it kept.
He Miyagi'd it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Jedi.
Did one of these
it was. Yeah, total miracle. And so he stayed for a few days and continued working on me. And I wish he could have stayed longer, but he had to go to a wedding, and then has his practice, so he had to go back and do work. But I think he was a really big factor.
So that was the physical ailment that you dealt with. That I wasn't sure. I don't know how I'm going to recover from this.
Yeah. And it was like the most pain I've ever had, an injury. I was completely injured and I should have stopped. And I somehow kept going through that. And that was, it was a miracle. I don't know how I made it through there. I don't know how my body recovered. I'm so grateful for my body. My body's
an incredible
heals so fastly, and it really responds really well to body work. I've known that for my whole career. I've been really blessed with a healthy body where if I'm getting good body work, things can go well. And so when he came in and did some work, he did some adjustments out in the middle of nowhere where like he, drove out through these crazy roads, hiked like 5+ miles to a place, bringing me some food. And then he did this thing where he adjusted my neck and back, like my neck, like total old school style. And there was this one moment where he did it and I felt just incredible. We were at like 40, I think we were at like 40 miles. I mean, this actually goes into another really good story. So like 40 miles in, he cracks my neck. I feel absolutely incredible. I run this like couple 1,000-foot climb. I'm running actually. And this is, 2,000 some miles in. Eventually meet up with my coach Coop that night at 50 miles or something in, and he gives me my night gear. And so he brings my night gear, still feeling pretty good. And they went through a town, so they got some tacos or something. So they brought me like some really yummy pork tacos, and my backpack is so filled with all the night gear and stuff that I had no other room. My pockets were filled that I put my tacos right here in the front of in the chest strap, because I had nowhere else to put them. And so then we start going, or I start going, because he goes off the other way back to camp and get some sleep and see me the next day, whenever. And I hike about a half an hour in there, putting on my headlamp. It's like 10:30. And this is when I feel presence of something, and I turn my head, and it was the biggest cougar I've ever seen in my life. And not just a cougar that, I just don't even know how to explain this cougar. It was walking so proud and so big that at first when I saw it out of the corner of my eye, I thought it was a bear. I thought like it looked black and looked huge.
It was that big.
It was that big. And so then I see that, and then I'm like, okay, I got to take a closer. What is this? Look at it. And then it's this huge cougar walking, so proud, right along this huge down tree. And I could see that it was like scooting around me. So like it didn't want anything to do with me. And I kind of took that in a little bit, but I was just like, I just saw the hugest animal, the most ferocious beast I could see out there. And it just kind of let me pass. And so like I look at it, it looks at me, and then I keep hiking. I didn't like stop. I didn't do anything. I just kept hiking. I'm thinking of my taco strapped to my chest, like, here, kitty, here, kitty. Yeah, exactly. And so I keep walking, and then I take another look back. My, headlamp catches it, and it felt like, two ships passing in the night, where it just like allowed me to go. It just acknowledged me as another animal out there and wasn't going to eat me. And all I could do was say thanks. I just like, holy crap, it's not eating me. I'm just going to keep walking. And so, of course, I'm walking a little bit more and like keep checking my back. I'm like, is it going to like, turn and then come around, or is it going to start following me? I mean, I have I'm a snack. I have, there's just all these things, and it just left me alone. And it was, those couple of days were just like some most inspiring moments that I had out there. Cause like I went from seeing that cougar, and I just didn't even like, didn't know what to do. Cause I was just like, I was scared, but not. I was just like, wow, this is huge. I was just like in awe. I think that like I was just so...
Like two apex predators passing.
Yeah, I was just, exactly.
This is where that growl would have come in handy.
I was ready to use it if it was gonna... I don't know. It was a thing where I had these thoughts where like, do I growl and be aggressive at an animal, or do I just surrender and be like... And I knew I would just have to make that moment if something was going to attack me or not. And so when it passed, I ended up singing a little song to myself for a little bit of just be in this calm space. And it was just this like, it was a really beautiful moment where I kind of like, what are you? Like, I just asked this like internally, what did I just pass? What just happened there? And just like, are you God? It was like the internal question I asked, and it was kind of like a silly kind of just question. But like, then right after that, my whole body lit up in just like, goosebumps wouldn't be the word. Like my whole body like felt like it was levitating. I just like energy was just circulating through whole body. I just couldn't believe that I survived seeing that cougar. And I just felt the deepest connection, reverence for nature, for the source of all creation, where I just felt just so humbled in that moment of like, wow, I'm being allowed to pass through this beautiful sanctuary with all these incredible animals and the power of nature, and nothing is squashing me out here. Like just the fires I was going through, the storms, the animals and stuff out there of sleeping in the middle of nowhere, of trying to put calories in and make this happen. And I was just came to this super grateful place of just, this is why I'm out here, of to just feel this connection with nature. And then the next morning is like, so I went and slept, and have a picture of the little nook where I slept. And I started walking that morning, 5:30 something in the morning, got to like this little outlook, and the smoke of the clouds is flowing through those little inversion layers going through. And I like kind of chuckled to myself. I was just like, this is one of those moments you remember. And not a second after I said that to myself, I just started crying, and just, I was just in the present. It was just sacred land I was in, and just, that's what I came out there for. And that, I was so grateful for that moment right there, and just keep walking. It's 5:30, nothing is working. My legs, everything is hurting, of course, but there wasn't any feeling of like, this is hard, or of course it was hard. Of course, everything, like I was feeling all those things, but it just didn't matter, because I was in the space that I wanted to be in, and that I was praying for, that like I was hoping this trip would be this healing, this powerful journey. And it was everything that I could anticipate, and all that pain and all those, those problems that I had to deal with along the way. It was just, it's part of the story and part of the adventure. And share one more thing. But like coming to the end, those last 7 miles, I was hurting so much, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then I was going over another down tree, and I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of down trees I went over, and how many times I yelled at the trees, and how many times, I was just like frustrated with them. And then like going over one of those trees with a few miles to go, kind of started laughing to myself. And like, cause I remember, like, man, it'd just be really nice if there wasn't down trees, just kind of like praying, like maybe, a few less trees to the end, so I can enjoy a nice red carpet finish and finish this. And then why I started laughing was like, why would I want this to be easy? Why would I want, to have a couple easy last miles? That's what I came here for. I came for the challenge of the Pacific Crest Trail, and I came here for all the down trees and all the different, things that arise, whether they were external or internal. That's what I came there for, and to feel it all and to work through it and to reach a place of contentment. And then I got to the finish.
Yeah, literal obstacles, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just it's so like symbolic of everything that you went through, not only on the trail but in life. So I mean, this was, like I said, it's such an appropriate adventure and odyssey for everything that you've encountered in life. And I just wanted to go back to that mountain lion story, and I think the utmost respect a lion can, or any apex predator can pay you, is just pay you no mind.
Yeah.
Because I do think there was this synergistic energy about you where you were out there for so long that you were almost a part of the backdrop and the canvas. And so it was a very, like, you could just be another sequoia or another tree, and that's how it treated you. So I love that story. It was just, like I said, two apex predators just tip of the cap and walking by each other and going about your business.
It wasn't the only cougar I saw, and like it's just like, yeah, them allowing me to pass through. I was just so, all I could do is say thank you, and let's keep taking care of this beautiful earth. Like,
so speaking of obstacles and some of the areas where I'm sure you were probably less than comfortable, were the areas where you were rendered without crew and self-sufficient and backpacking, in a sense. Tell me about some of those challenges, because this is where you got kind of outside of your comfort zone, where you had to carry your own shelter, your own food for a while, and I'm sure some water treatment, especially in the JMT, John Muir Trail sections of the like high country. What were those sections like?
Yeah, so I mean, the John Muir Trail section of it was definitely one of the harder sections of it, and most definitely because of the reason of not having my crew there. I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and I camp, and I've done a lot of 100-mile races where I'm out there and adventures, but I am not the most like skilled like backpacker that lives out of his backpack and tent for months at a time.
Bear canister,
bear canister and stuff like that. That's not my jam, and I knew that going in, and I practiced a little bit of working with my bivy, hiking up the trail here and setting it up, and I knew it was a weakness of mine, and in talking with my coach and stuff about it, we definitely came, like, I had to definitely work with my strengths. So, work through all my years of ultra running and being supported. Like, I had to use those times of being supported, but then I needed to really step up in those hard moments, and especially the ones with like where I'm sleeping out there by myself. Extra gear, so it's extra weight. Carrying the bear canister is a tricky thing in its own right. Of opening it is one thing. We have some good video of me and Bob both trying to open the bear canister prior to this. So they wanted to you think you can do this, and I practiced enough beforehand, so I know I could do it. But when we're doing it on video, me and Bob are both so pathetic, and like took over a minute to do it, and then they kept giving us shit of like, you're going to be pretty tired after 50 miles and having to open that. But when I was out on the trail, the bear canister was no problem. I was able to open that. The problem with it is just the bulkiness of it, having it in your back. It was literally just like in my back for so many hours. And so I was trying to I maneuver stuff in my pack, trying to get in the right spot. And so if I would have had a little bit more practice and just, experience out in doing that, it probably would have been really helpful for me. But also that was a really kind of fun part, because it tore me down. It was really hard of getting just a few hours of sleep in the middle of the mountains. Of like one night, we're hiking up close to Muir Pass. I was almost to 11,000 feet, and I got in 40 some miles that day, 17 hours of hiking. So I was like, okay, we'll sleep here and wake up in the morning and go for it. And so set up my bivy and got in my little my burrito of a sack, and got a couple hours of sleep, and then woke up, stuck my head out of my bivy, and it was this lightning show in the mountains. So my view was this really big peak, and then just the whole sky in lightning. It was so beautiful and so scary. It's just so beautiful. I remember looking in, and I'm getting drizzled on a little bit, and I remember putting my head back in the bivy. I'm like, how long do you think I could just stay in here and pretend that's not happening out there? And then 10 seconds later, realizing this bivy is not waterproof. I need to get up and get going. So it was like 3 a.m, good alpine start, and that was another really big day, because it's like, a couple hours of sleep, and then another 17-hour day of hiking. And that day is when I was running a little low on food, and it's just, you're hiking, you're going over a 13,000 foot pass, your altitude. And another little tricky part about the Sierras was it was, like the best breeding grounds in the world for mosquitoes. So like everyone out there had like, the cloud of mosquitoes around them, which you're like literally like you're bleeding, like your arms. I had arm sleeves on trying to protect me from them, and through the arm sleeves I'm bleeding from the mosquitoes. And it is, those were definitely some challenging moments, but that was, it was really beautiful to go that deep and to see like, the jewel, the PCT, how beautiful, you've done the JMT, so you know how gorgeous that section is. And then just it was really funny to me, because I was doing the section where is it like, where are those 5 lakes? Is it Ray's Lakes? Something. I want to say Ray's Lakes.
Yeah. Ray Lake sounds familiar. Yeah. There's that 1,000. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was Ray's Lake. So it's supposed to be like, this really special spot on the JMT. And I remember getting that at nighttime, and I was just like, every rock I was kicking, I was just so frustrated. And I was mad at myself that I wasn't appreciating this most beautiful section of there. And it's just funny moments like that. And then, 10 minutes later, chuckling to myself, like, that was ridiculous, Tim. You didn't need to have a little, little pity party there. But also just part of it, of being human, of being in one of the most beautiful places in the whole world and being grumpy, and then turning that around and then actually appreciating the nature, and just the funniness of our mind, of where it takes you, and that you can be grumpy in such amazing moments in your life. But it's,
maybe you just needed to eat something.
Yeah, I just needed to eat something. Totally. I just needed a little slap, just change your perspective. So
yeah, those the whole JMT section is challenging in its own right. But I also can't help but feel that maybe it was in those sections in particular that you probably felt the most connected to the actual through hikers. Yeah, people who had to carry that from start to finish, lug the bear canister.
Well, I felt a little less embarrassed passing people. It's just like, when you're passing people with your little pack, and then they have the big one, you almost want to be like, I'm a little ashamed. I know I'm carrying the little pack, but you guys, they were very loving anyway. So, and then it was, when you're carrying the pack, then you can walk with a little bit more. I got the big pack on too, just like you guys.
One of you guys, yeah. So there were people out on the trails that clearly knew of this endeavor, and I believe, I don't know who it was exactly that bestowed the trail name of Mirage to you, but everyone was excited about seeing you come through, and the anticipation of it. And, like Krista and the entire family were super generous to, serve as trail angels to them when they had extra stuff they could allocate to give to them, which they appreciated as well. So talk about that energy and that vibe of encountering through hikers as you went through your journey. And maybe a character or two that stands out more than others, because there are definitely characters who do this.
Yeah. And there was one day when I came to the finish of the day and brought the whole team together and just thanked them like so much, because of course, of everything they were doing for me, but how they were trail angels, how they were treating all the other thru hikers. I had so many thru hikers, that I'd pass or, I'd see out there, and they'd be like, your team is absolutely amazing. They they gave me shade for a couple hours today. They hooked me up with this food and popsicles and water. Coke, and so like just noticing all the people out there that were so grateful for them. That's what I wanted to see. That's why I wanted to do this with the team that I had, because I know how amazing people they are, and them coming through and or passing another thru hiker later on and your father-in-law, absolutely amazing, funniest guy ever. And just getting to hear those different stories. And I think it was a couple, I was going through the desert section when I, kind of passed people, and they're like, how's it going? Just like, yeah, we've heard of you. You're like a mirage out here. And you just, we see you for a second, you're gone. And And that one just stuck with me. Like, it wasn't one where like your name should be Mirage or something. Cause I had people like, you should be Speedy this or whatever.
I tried to pass one along.
Yeah. I liked yours. Actually, Comet, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was, it was a good one. And I think it was like the next day or something after you said that, cause I liked that one. And then like someone's like, you're like a Mirage. And I was like, that was a cool one. And so I sat on that for like a day, or like, I remember it was like a couple days later when I was like thinking about it, the names that have been like said to me throughout that, and that one stuck, and then like sharing it with the team, and then everyone just like, and then sharing with other thru hikers. I think it took me a moment because I wasn't as cool as all the other thru hikers, hanging with all their buddies and like, joking and laughing and sitting by and having a beer. And it's like, man, I'm kind of missing out on some of this, the really good parts of thru hiking and that community part of it. I was a little sad in times of passing, a group of 10 people, and like, they were so stoked to see me and taking pictures. And, anytime I'd pass anyone from Wisconsin, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I got some really good, cheeseheads to take a picture with me, and really stoked to see me.
There were actual people with the cheeseheads?
No, I wish. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, okay.
But just Wisconsinites being amazing. Yeah. So I got to, getting to see that community was really cool. And then that name just stuck. I remember hearing it and then like playing in my mind a few times. I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. And then just sharing it with a few people, and then all of a sudden it just catching on. And then any like people I passed on the trail, no one knew my real name. They just, what's up, Mirage? So like they'd see. It's funny how many people were on social media out there. Like I didn't really look at social media much, or I just didn't have time, service, or anything. But like, they'd get to a town and they would take their time, and a lot of people took pictures with me. So I'm sure there's a lot of good pictures of me looking pretty scraggly out there. But getting to meet, the random thru hikers was really special. The one guy from my hometown of Wisconsin, Amherst, Wisconsin, his name was Gourmet. So shout out to Gourmet. Hoping he was making good food out there, but I was not eating a lot of gourmet food, but maybe he was. So good for him. But I remember hearing about him for like 2 days. He's like, oh, there's a friend from Amherst, Wisconsin. He can't wait to see you and stuff. And I thought I passed him. And then it was actually right before I did the last few hours of hiking to Muir Pass. I saw him right before that down at the climb there, and going through so many beautiful, you're going through, sequoias and redwoods. That section is so beautiful to see those big trees and then see the big mountains too. Each time I just kind of pause for a little bit and reflect on the different landscapes that I went through. And it takes my breath away of just thinking of the different spots, and that, not that there was 1 or 5 or something. It's just like, I have like these visualizations in my head of these places that I've got to see, and it's a really special trail. And when I was finishing the Sierras, you go over Sonora Pass is one of those last big passes, and JB Benna came out for there. JB,
of course,
integral part of the running world for eons, and so it's really good to see him out there. And he's done the PCT, and of course I knew this, but he gave me just like, I was struggling during that time where I just, did the Sierras. I didn't get to see my family a lot, and I was moving pretty hard, of just cause I wanted to get to the RV and get to see my family that night. And he just gave me a little reminder of, remember to take this in, and just a really good reminder that you may never see these places again. And I took that, and I knew that from the very beginning, and that was an intention. But after just having another person say that to you, it really hits home. And I really tried to remind myself of that throughout the rest of it, of like, I was in these places where there's so many down trees, and 30 miles before I'm going to see my crew again, and a little ticked at the trail. And then all of a sudden realizing like, this probably the only time I'm here, like, let's really take this in and appreciate it. And that was I think really one of my deeper lessons out there was, taking the trail for what it gives you, taking life for what it gives you, and not getting so mad at the trail, at life. I don't know how many times, especially after the Sierra, so I was super tired, and I just kept kicking every rock. My toe kept hitting those rocks, and I don't have a lot of toenails as it is. There's blisters all over them. And so just kicking those it hurt. And then it was just frustrating that I was kicking them so much because I couldn't lift up my feet high enough all the time. And then I got to Northern California, where I don't know if anyone's done any trail work in Northern California because there's so many down trees. And then Southern Oregon was okay. But then in middle of Oregon, there was other sections where it was, it wasn't just 100 down trees. It was hundreds of down trees. And there was this one section where it looked like, I thought Coop said it well because I showed him the video of it. It looked like it's a game where you drop. It's a old game with kids where you drop the sticks and then you have to pick up sticks. I think is the name of the game.
I think pick up sticks.
I think I said the name.
Yeah, you workshopped it.
Yeah, I workshopped. There we go. I'm a genius. Anyway, so it just looked like someone just dropped 1,000 sticks on top of this mountain, and I had to crawl through it, and it was insane. I've never seen so many down trees. And so there were sections where I'm getting really pissed at the trail and like, why is there another down tree? Why am I kicking it?
Illogically?
Yeah. And then it like all of a sudden occurred to me, like the trail was just being a trail. It wasn't against me. It wasn't trying to make my day hard. It didn't decide to put that tree there because it knew it set me up for the perfect, ankle tweak and whatnot. And, this rock wasn't there to make sure that I stepped my toe. I finally allowed the trail to be the trail. And then it allowed me to be me out there and just take it for what it was, that this is what the trail gives me on this day. And this is what I'll take and I'll move. This was another thing that I always said towards the end, like I'm definitely, I'm not going to get there as fast as I want to get there. And it's not going to be as pretty as I want it, but I'm going to get there. And that was, I knew I was going to get there. And that was a good feeling of like, whatever comes up next, let's just, accept it and deal with it. And finally coming to peace with the trail was a really it was a good moment for me, because I don't even just around here, I'll kick rocks sometimes and get frustrated at the trail. Why am I getting mad at the trail? And then also I want to just all the trail workers out there. I love trail workers so much.
But Northern California needs some work.
Some work, definitely. But I can be understanding with COVID and everything. There hasn't been as much trail work, but this trail, the PCT was as gnarly as it can possibly get. There was for down trees and just there hasn't been a lot of trail maintenance. So it was challenging in that part, and it made me really love that trail and accept it for what it was. And then to take that, Ram Dass has this thing of, this spiritual teacher that I like to listen to, sometimes. And he talks about trees and how if we could just see people like trees, you look at this tree and, it's, it didn't have the best light, so it's growing a little crooked and it's growing this way, or a tree, went through a fire and had a little burn mark on it. We pass all these trees all the time and we just look, that's a beautiful tree. And then we look at that tree, that's a beautiful tree. And we're not concerned that it has this weird growth or what color it is or what fruit it's producing or whatnot. We're just like, that tree, cool tree. And I really love trees. So that's kind of one of the reasons I share this. But then I was trying to take that into the trails of just trails, just like people, just like trees out there. Some trails are super gnarly and have all the rocks and the down trees. And then some are smooth and, the smoothest trail, the widest trail, and everything, flows so smoothly there. And I found myself just getting so irritated at these things, and then realizing that it's all just part of the whole, and all part of it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And all the people out there,
it was there before you,
it was
and
there
it'll be
before
there long
me,
after you leave.
Most definitely. And so
kind of lay claim to that land first.
Yeah,
and, I mean, that's probably the most relatable thing you've said about all this. It's I can't tell you how many times I've cursed at a false summit.
Yeah, right.
A freaking mountain that was already there, and getting angry at it.
Yeah. Why wasn't the summit just 100 feet closer? Mm-hmm. And so yes, good lessons along the trail.
There's 10,001 stories I'm sure we can share on this broadcast, but thankfully we have hopefully a book coming out and definitely a movie coming out, so that we have that to look forward to. You did mention the team. I just want to, before we end this podcast, I want to shout out the team, because as you said, from Jason Coop to your father-in-law Bob, Krista your wife, even the kids, Maddie, the body worker, who was also integral in getting some calories in you while she was doing the work.
Well,
so
yeah.
Thank you, Maddie. I want to shout her out too. And all the people that you encountered along the trail.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to share a few miles with you, JB Benna, Dylan, Ethan, all those guys.
Yeah.
But the people who were there day in and day out, let's talk about them and how crucial they were as members of this incredible odyssey that you embarked on.
Yeah, most definitely. I've said this, and I'm really grateful that I've said it enough. I'll keep saying it, that we did this, that this was not me. And, you can start off with my, amazing little kids. So having them out there, they are my inspiration, my motivation. They're everything to me, and so grateful for my boys. And, the best times a part of the whole PCT were the times where I got to run on the trail with them. Like almost every day I got to share like a half a mile with them on the trail. And so their encouragement, there was this one moment where I was 40 miles into the run. I haven't seen them. Krista's also, my wife is going through a master's degree right now. So she was doing school, in the midst of this, all while, 7-8 months pregnant. So I'll get to her. We know she's an absolute rock star, but my boys, being out there encouraging me were such an integral part of this. And I definitely want to give them a shout out. I can't wait to 20 years from now, 10 years from now, when we get to look back at the movie and, laugh at our silliness and how much dirt is on Kai's face, every day. And, but when I saw them that time, it was a few days since I got to see them, and I got to the RV, and it was a surprise. They surprised me, and, they all came in for a big hug. And so I had, Krista holding me and the two little boys. And, it was the most memorable, most meaningful moment there, where I felt so much love for them, and I started crying. And I think they caught it on video, so I think we'll have a good moment. But I started crying, and I looked right into Kai's eyes, and there was no judgment. There was no, "Why are you crying, Dad?" or it was just so much love and admiration. Like I could just see that he just cared so much, and wasn't fazed at all by crying. Like he can see a man cry, he can see his dad cry, and it's nothing we need to set alarms off. It's just like, Dad's just having an emotion right now, and he just looked at me with love, told me I could do it, and went on. And had a couple of moments like that with Tristan too, where I'm just so grateful that my boys have such an amazing mom and experiences, and other people in their life, that they're such cool little kids that they can deal with their emotions, and they can see other people having emotions and realize that that's just, part of life. And so that was a really special moment. And then I went on and I ran 65 miles that night. I left from leaving them there, and, we had a miscommunication where I was supposed to take my night pack there, and I was going to go sleep in the forest. And so, I still could have done that, but, I decided to just run an extra 10 miles. And so I did 65 miles that day. It was my biggest day, and I got home at like midnight to see them, but, it was such a solid day and time. And so that shares right there how important my boys were. And then, I guess we can share my wife Krista, she's the glue that held it all together, and she did it 8 months pregnant. And this was extremely hard for her after 2 miscarriages, like every day of this, of what's the baby doing inside of there? And is it going to live? And, is this too much stress for the baby and stuff like that? So she was just incredible, and going through her own stuff and having those moments where, she was struggling with, being out there and the lack of sleep and stuff. And she just rocked it. And, so grateful for her, and just, love her so much. It was really cool to see her become just the strong, amazing woman that she was out there, where she's never driven the RV prior to this, and doesn't like driving a lot. And so she took it on driving it, and she's like, actually, I love the RV. It's, a little time for myself. She cranks up the music and was like rocking down the, the roads, singing and having a good time and with the boys. And like, she owned it. She like stepped into her power and like, she's doing all the things that I normally do to take care of the RV. And the boys too. Tristan was carrying and lifting everything for her. So my family just stepped up to just the highest level. I'm so grateful for what they did. And I can't wait to, just keep sharing my, my gratefulness for them over the years. And, I can't wait to, like, my kids are maybe running, later on in life, and I get to be like, remember when we did the PCT and thank them for that. And then you go of taking care of the boys. So Krista, of course, is taking care of them, but she's helping me so much that we have, my in-laws, Bob and Debbie. Yeah. Bob and Debbie were there, and, Debbie Loomis, my mother-in-law, was absolutely incredible of taking care of the boys, of how much food, just all the logistics. Like, you always, you need those people that do the things that no one else notices. And like, Debbie was absolutely incredible of like going in and washing my clothes at a laundromat and like bringing it to me, of like going and finding, gluten-free food at some random gas station to bring me. She like, helped a ton of making food, of getting food to me, and then just supporting my wife, and then being there for the kids, that the kids were able to be doing. We homeschool our kids, so we were still doing homeschool through this, and just keeping them safe. Like, Debbie was absolutely amazing. And then she was also getting some footage, some like little videos. And of course, Debbie's already put together a little like 30-minute little video of the whole journey already.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. So
Awesome.
It's good stuff. And, just kind of just a little memento already from it, and to go back and just kind of relive all the days. And, it was really cool how all of us, I think we all kind of took, like, a little journal every day to kind of to write this down, and so we can remember it.
Day 6, morning walk, and Tim had his highest mileage day of 59 miles. He was accompanied by Dom much of the journey, and the boys enjoyed playing with their sweet daughters during the day. 59 miles, 314.3 total miles.
Hey, boys. See ya. Good to see you too, man.
And so then Bob was just, Bob is amazing, hilarious. He would show up to get me food at different places, and, crack his little jokes, and, encourage me in his way. Of course, make some good Bob errors in the midst of it, but he wouldn't be him without, throwing in his flair and making sure that I'm smiling along the way. And, there's just so many moments where I was like one of the days in the Sierras where I got over at Donahue Pass, and I was finishing that night at like 1, 2 in the morning. And so he hiked in to bring my stuff, and I was so tired that night. Like, I was like falling down on the ground. I broke one of my poles, so I didn't have poles, and I was like falling asleep in it was right after Reds Meadows. So after Reds Meadows, and I got to run with a little bit with Dylan there. Mm-hmm. And then I had to do over Donahue Pass. And that was like, so it turned into like a 62-mile day. That was a really challenging day and time. But, Bob came out there and had stuff for me. And he was like Coop, like that. It was basically Coop and him that would be my crew to the different spot.
Hiking out after spending the night with Timothy. Beautiful, beautiful trail. This is the John Muir Trail and the PCT.
So grateful for, both him and Coop, of all the different random places they got to, and places they shouldn't have, and just
hard places,
and navigating, trying to find them, and getting to one road and seeing that road is gated off and closed, and then on the fly trying to figure things out. And so, Bob was absolutely amazing, and just even he was also like the head talking to Adidas and stuff, of keeping updates going to them, and making sure that they're updated, and getting the information to outside online to have the updates of me, so people can follow me and stuff like that. So he was just doing so many different things. that I don't even know about. It's like all these things they're telling me afterwards of all the different things that they had to go through. Of like the crew could have a whole movie on just what they were doing, and all the like the RV got stuck a couple times. One time really bad. Another good story, but. And then Jason Coop, my coach, who's kind of, he's so steady and calm, and that was so necessary for this. While everyone else, we're an emotional bunch, so everyone is, emotions are going every which way, and Coop is just cool, and I give him much respect for that, because when everyone else is throwing in the towel and screaming that this is, everything is chaos, like he keeps his cool, and he came to so many places for me, and brought my bag, brought me food, and then just too with he had, which was really cool, the communication that he had with an intern back at CTS, Addison. So I want to give a shout out to Addison, because he was doing logistics from afar, where because we kept getting shut down at certain spots. They try to get to this trail and it was closed off or gated, and so we couldn't figure things out. So he was back here in Colorado Springs and looking on Google Earth, trying to see if he can get to certain, they could get to certain spots. And so that was really helpful of having him help and relay information to Coop, to help Coop be able to navigate this for me. And me and Coop on numerous times, we were definitely creating a framework for how to, if you want to do this in a fast way, because he was so on, and he's done so many races, and of helping crew for races. And also he helped crew like Dean Karnazes when he went across the US. And so he's done a couple long journeys like this, so it's not his first rodeo. And his calmness, expertise through it was invaluable. And I mean, that was the core team. And then we had a few, I think I mentioned a few of the massage therapists. I had 2 other massage therapists come in. A friend of JB's from Reno came in to do a little bit of body work. They're a massage therapist. Hope I'm not saying his name. I think his name is John. My mind's a little gone. But he was he helped for a couple days, and it was just really nice to everyone that came in and helped. It was extremely helpful. And just even there was, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but there was a guy that came in when I was doing the Leona Divide section, and he's a firefighter. He was saving he put out a fire that night. I'm really sorry, I'm forgetting his name.
It's not Jerry, is it?
Yeah, Jerry, thank you.
Big Hispanic guy. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome dude. He came, I finished that night 55 miles, on the Leona Divide course. I just passed the big sign with, all the
the pass finisher,
winners. Yeah, exactly. And I've ran that race a few times. I've helped crew it. My wife has run it, so it's kind of meaningful. And then I got to the end where I was ending that day, and he was there to congratulate me, and he was going to come and run with me, but he was putting out a fire. And I was so he was saving the trails that day. So just another reminder to give, big kudos to all those firefighters out there, and especially this time of year where there's so many fires going on and people are risking their lives and trying to save homes and families and animals. And it's, fires are crazy, and we do build our places in places maybe where they shouldn't be. And fires are natural, but, it's part of life, and just really grateful for those people that are taking care of us and taking care of this world, taking care of this earth. It's really needed and necessary. And so it's a little bit of the team. I'm forgetting people, and I'm sorry for people I'm forgetting, but so many people played an important role in this. And just even, my family, my mom and dad came out for a couple days, and, I was really grateful that they got to come out and join me. But just thinking of them when they're back home, and my mom is sitting back there sending me messages and, praying for me and just sending me love. And I super grateful for all the people that, played a part in my life over this. This wasn't just I trained for a year and went and did the PCT. This has been a lifetime of training, a lifetime of people helping me and encouraging me and supporting me. And just even the last few years of being in Costa Rica and making some really deep friendships there, and meeting some people there that have changed my life immensely. And just want to, just say thank you to all the people that have encouraged me and have pushed me to be to be who I am, and have showed me ways to keep learning and growing in this life. I wouldn't be here without people in my life. I mean, I literally would be dead if it wasn't for people who have stepped into my life and have encouraged me and helped me. And so I definitely just want to give a shout out to all the people in my life that have raised me up, have encouraged me, and even when they saw me in my worst moments in my life, super grateful for all those people.
Yeah, I mean, I usually end on a note of gratitude. It sounds like you painted this beautiful picture of all the people in your life that got you to where you are. And I completely agree. It's really the community, our chosen family and our given family that we surround ourselves with that really propels us to become the best versions of ourselves if you surround yourself with the right people. So, yeah. Timmy Olson, I mean, again, like, you know, we had a whole thing about recovery and you coming back. You just had your first run today after like a month. So I'm happy to see you on the track for that. But, you know, just in the interest of time and everything else and waiting for the bigger projects to come out, hopefully one day soon, we'll just end it here today. But just any final thoughts you want to do or you want to express to kind of wrap up the whole experience that was the PCT for you, you know, in a concise-ish way.
Yes.
If you can even like wrap it up and get your mind around it.
I'm not concise, so it's always really hard to put it. I love how you always end your conversations with gratitude. And so I love that I was already going into that because
I mean, who better than the people in your life?
Yeah,
right?
man.
Yeah.
And all the people in my life. And just giving a shout out to the ultra running community. Like when I got into ultra running, I moved to Oregon, met some really amazing ultra runners, Hal Kerner, Ian Torrance, that brought me to the sport, legends of the sport, and encouraged me throughout this. I wouldn't be here if I didn't like stumble onto that, you know, small little Ashland town and meet these crazy people that like spending so much time in nature. And I'm just really want to end it on a gratitude for nature, for everything it's given me throughout the year, even just the nature of my body, of like being able, that I was able to run through, you know, almost a month after this, but like that my body is still functioning, that I was able to do such a, you know, big athletic feat, but that it changed me so much. I think I'm just super grateful for nature and for the trail, for all it's given me, all it's shown me, and really beautiful reminder that what I need to do moving forward is really take care of this earth and really, you know, be an example, be a spokesperson, and really bring attention to this world that is suffering, that is showing us lots of signs, and we need to listen. And so I think this is it was a prayer I had for the end of it, was communication would be better worldwide. Communication with just with you and your relationships, of being able to communicate and realize that we have different opinions, and that it doesn't need to turn into a blood battle because we have different opinions, that you can have different opinions and you can share those, and that we can communicate and we need to work on peace as we're seeing, you know, things go on all around the world. That communication is not where it should be, and we need to have better communication with our families and the relationships we have. But then politically, we need to be able to communicate and listen in a way that change can happen in a positive way. And I think that takes a little bit of stepping back and listening sometime. And so that's what, you know, calling out everyone to like communicate better, of having conversations and having those hard conversations and not turning them into war, and trying to spread peace and love with our words instead of bringing people down. And then that communication, let that communication continue with the earth, of like, it's screaming at us. And as we saw with COVID, where we actually were all shut in for a while and then things start changing, like, let's not forget that. Let's remember that we have a big impact on this world. And that doesn't mean that we have to stop and, be shut in, but we can all make better choices for this world. And while we're all making these choices, to not judge each other so much. Everyone is so worried about what everyone else is doing. Let's just let's take care of our own space. Let's take care of inside. That's why I meditate and really try to come in and clean up the inside and take care of this. And then I try to clean up the space around me of my environment clean, and let's keep doing that. And so that's, I feel, a good place to end it. And when you get to enjoy places like this world, like the Pacific Crest Trail, it really reminds you that we have to take care of it so other people can use it, so future generations can use it, and that this earth can be a sanctuary for us all. And let's take care of it, and let's enjoy running, and let's enjoy life, and let's as long as we're taking care of the earth, let's take care of each other too. And
beautiful thoughts, man. Yeah. And you mentioned future generations, and obviously I couldn't help but think of your imminent
any minute
person,
now.
Any minute now, that can literally come any minute. So maybe we should tend to who's currently nursing her in her womb. Timothy Olson, I'm just in awe of you and everything you've done to inspire others. And I just thank you for letting us get a glimpse into your world that was, the PCT for 51 days. And I can't wait for you to share your story on a broader level with the film, with the movie, and whatever else you do in the future. So I'm just so appreciative of you and your time, man.
Yeah. Thank you for coming all the way out to Boulder to do this. Thank you for sharing these. This wouldn't get out if it's not people like you sharing this in a beautiful way. And so thank you for this podcast, and thank you for coming out here, listening to me, and go have a fun weekend at Leadville. It's going to be awesome.
Man. It's going to be awesome. Thanks, Tim.